Situation Room, but right now I want to bring in the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff of California. Congressman, thanks for joining us. I know you've been well briefed on what's going on. Are North Korea's claims to be believed?
Well, I share the skepticism that was expressed today by the administration, given the public data about the size of that seismic movement following the explosion. We don't know for sure, though, but I think we'll know fairly soon. And that will give us a good insight into just what kind of a bomb this was. Did they use tritium to try to enhance the power of a fission bomb, or was this a hydrogen bomb as they claim? But I would take North Korean claims with a very big grain of salt.
Did the U.S. have any advance intelligence warning of the timing of this nuclear test?
Wolf, I can't go into the specifics of that, of what we observe or what we may have seen. I can tell you this is something, obviously, that we have a lot of our intelligence assets directed to determine. That is, what's happening in North Korea's missile program, what's happening in their nuclear program, when are they likely to launch missiles, when are they likely to initiate nuclear tests. So this is something we keep a very close eye on.
You say there should be more economic sanctions on North Korea. There already are a ton of sanctions, and so far they've been pretty much ineffective. What will it take to get the job done to stop North Korea from being a nuclear power?
Well, I think the country that really has the leverage here is China. And right now, China hasn't been willing to use that leverage to maximum extent. As your commentators were pointing out earlier, China is very unhappy with these North Korean tests, but at the same time doesn't want the regime to collapse, doesn't want a unified Korean peninsula allied to the West right on its border. I think the way to change the calculus for China is to make it very clear that we're going to have to increase our military presence in the region. We're going to have to be talking to our allies in the region about what additional military assets to bring to bear to defend ourselves and our allies from this growing threat that our strategic patience is wearing out. China doesn't want to see us do that, and that may be the kind of motivation China needs to really crack down on sanctions that have a bite.
Congressman Schiff, stand by for a moment. We're going to have much more on what's going on in North Korea, also the war against ISIS, and also coming up, my one-on-one interview today with Donald Trump. You're going to hear Korea claiming it has tested a hydrogen bomb. We're back with the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee, Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff of California. Congressman, North Korea certainly hasn't been shy about its intentions. This is the fourth time they've exploded at least some sort of nuclear device. I want to play for you something that the former president of the United States, Bill Clinton, had to say about the deal he struck with North Korea to end its nuclear weapons program back in 1994. Listen to this.
Before I take your questions, I'd like to say just a word about the framework with North Korea that Ambassador Gallucci signed this morning. This is a good deal for the United States. North Korea will freeze and then dismantle its nuclear program. South Korea and our other allies will be better protected. The entire world will be safer as we slow the spread of nuclear weapons. South Korea, with support from Japan and other nations, will bear most of the cost of providing North Korea with fuel to make up for the nuclear energy it is losing. And they will pay for an alternative power system for North Korea that will allow them to produce electricity while making it much harder for them to produce nuclear weapons. The United States and international inspectors will carefully monitor North Korea to make sure it keeps its commitments. Only as it does so will North Korea fully join the community of nations.
Clearly that has not worked out, Congressman. President Clinton's agreed-upon framework essentially wound up giving Pyongyang diplomatic cover to build a nuclear weapon. And a lot of people say the same thing potentially could happen with Iran right now. You voted in favor of that Iran nuclear deal. Was that a mistake?
No, it wasn't a mistake, and we have a very different kind of a verification regime with Iran, I think one of the most severe in history, to make sure that Iran doesn't cheat the way North Korea did by pursuing a different pathway to the bomb. So I think we have a very different situation in Iran than in North Korea, and I'm not sure that you can really compare the two very well.
Did the Clinton administration, the Bush administration, the Obama administration drop the ball in as far as North Korea and its nuclear program is concerned?
I don't think they dropped the ball, but I think it's a recognition of a limited range of options, obviously because of the heavy military presence along that demilitarized zone, as you point out. Military action is a very fraught kind of an option. So where you're really left is with economic pressure or some kind of a negotiated outcome. The negotiations did not work. North Korea violated the spirit, if not the letter, of that agreement. And here I think we're going to have to try to, once again, gin up the sanctions on North Korea, put pressure on China to do its part, be a stronger actor on the world stage in dealing with this growing menace. And one other tool I would encourage us to use much more extensively, and that is we have seen the sensitivity of the North Korean regime to information disseminated to its own people about the horrors of its own regime. And I would use this as an opportunity to fight back in the information wars by bombarding the North Koreans with information about how their own ruler is feeding their nuclear program rather than feeding the starving people of North Korea. So I think we ought to be aggressive in hitting North Korea with what hurts them.
North Korea did provide nuclear technology to Syria. They built a nuclear reactor. The Israelis destroyed that back in 2007. They provided nuclear technology to Pakistan, which now has a nuclear arsenal. Is there evidence right now North Korea, which is hard-pressed for cash, is about to sell nuclear-related technology to others?
I don't know that there's evidence that they're on the cusp of doing so. But I certainly wouldn't put it past them, and that's something that we watch vigilantly. The only linkage, I would say, Wolf, between North Korea and Iran is the agreement with Iran, I think because of the vigorous inspection regime, pretty well cuts off Iran's pathway to the bomb through a clandestine enrichment capability. If I were Iran and wanted to cheat and develop a bomb, I would look to buy it elsewhere. And here we're going to have to really watch North Korea and make sure that Iran doesn't seek to cheat by going to a country like North Korea to get the finished product.
Congressman Schiff, thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks, Wolf.